Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and to another video. So today we are going to look at EndeavourOS for the April 2021 ISO release. So the ISO was released a few days ago, and on the announcement it was also announced that the website has been through a redesign, as you can see here, and we're going to look at it in a second. And on the new ISO we have also some new features which we're going to look also in a second. So let's go ahead and explore the website here shortly. You can see here we have the features here and a small presentation. And on the bottom section here we have the flavors. So EndeavourOS, as you probably already know, comes with XFCE, Mate, Cinnamon, GNOME, Plasma, Budgie, LXQT and i3, and we have new since the April 2021 release also BSPWM, which is the release we're going to look today, and also Sway. Then we have also some new things about ARM. As you can see, also EndeavourOS is working on the ARM ISO as well. And what I find also nice here is to meet the team. So you can see here who is working on the project, and it's always very nice to see who is behind the scenes here. So we are here at the end of the site, and what I'm going to click here is the April release. So I'm just going to click the link here, and let's have a look at what's new in this 2021 ISO release. So one of the things that is new here in the article, it's saying that we have now a new wiki site where you can go ahead and see some informations about installations or troubleshooting. And by the way, I want to thank here EndeavourOS also for linking my channel to some of those videos and also to other channels. It's a great source of information to have several channels in a site like this. And we have also two new mirrors here. We have one in the Netherlands, as you can see here, and one also in Canada. And as I was saying before, we have also further development for the ARM version of EndeavourOS. As you can see here, one of the members is working on that. So I'm looking forward to see this, how it develops, and I'm looking forward to test this in the future with an ARM device. Now, one thing is that also the Deepin desktop environment has been actually removed from the ISO. And as you can read here through the article here, it says after a month of monitoring and waiting the improvement on performance of Deepin, these improvements didn't arrive, so they decided to take off the desktop environment from the ISO. Now, we have, of course, here the news for this release. So we have a new version of Calamares, new version of Firefox, the new kernel, Mesa driver, and NVIDIA DKMS drivers as well. And we have some improvements and bug fixes here that you can read through the website. Now, the new features of the Welcome app, one is Pactive. You might have heard of this one. It's an essential tool, as it says here, to manage changes in the system and packaging configuration file. And we have this now in the Welcome app. You will see this after the installation. We have also some new buttons here for software news and some other buttons to download more EndeavourOS wallpapers. Now, we have BSPWM and Sway as a new community edition for EndeavourOS. And afterwards, we are going to install the BSPWM edition to see how it's built. And one word here of advice, if you want to try out the Sway version with a virtual machine, as it says here, it's not probably going to work because it says here Wayland isn't supported on virtual machines yet. So that's to keep in mind if you want to try this out. Anyway, I will leave a link to the website, of course, in the video description below. For now, let me actually close this window and let's go to the installer, which is already there prepared. So let's boot up the installer here. It's going to take a moment to boot up. And usually the ISO installer will boot up in an XFCE desktop environment where we can launch then the installer itself. So here we go. We are now in XFCE, and let me switch off this message here. And I'm going to actually change the display resolution, and it's nice to have this one here in the Welcome app. So let me select my resolution here. There you go. And so this is the Welcome app. You can see they took off also the update for the Welcome app, which I think it makes sense because anyway, the installer works even you don't update the Welcome app. And we have here Start the Installer or Install Community Editions. So if you want to try out the Community Editions, if you want to try out, like in my case now, BSPWM, we need to click here on the second button. However, we can also update the mirrors here, which I'm going to do because I want to make sure that I have the fastest mirrors available to download my packages. And as you can see, it detects correctly my country here, and these options are fine for me. So I'm just going to click OK. And it's going to create a mirror list here, and now I can save it to my mirror list file. There you go. Now change the display resolution, fairly easy to understand here, and partition manager also with latest release info, installation tips and troubleshoot. Now installation tips and troubleshooting will bring you to the wiki where we have also some of my videos and some of other channels video that will help you out if you have problems installing EndeavourOS or you need to troubleshoot. And then we have here the software news, the changelog, and the help and see you later button. So these are self-explanatory anyway. So to make a default installation here, you would start the installer, or you will go to install community editions. If you require a special partitioning, you can do so by going to the partition manager, or you can choose also manual partitioning in Calamares, which we are going to do. So let's go ahead and install community editions here. And as you can see here, we have this window popping up saying that we can install Sway or BSPWM. Now, this is a virtual machine, so I'm going to install anyway BSPWM because it's one of my favorite window managers. So I'm just going to click the button here. And the Calamares installer will start up in a second. There you go. So we can select here the language and click next. And the zone is automatically detected because I have an internet connection here. If you don't and you have Wi-Fi, you can connect to it right here from the button. And then click next. And let me select my lovely keyboard here and click next as well. And now we have the choice to erase the disk or manual partitioning. So I'm gonna go this time with manual partitioning because last time I tried it, actually the installer crashed. And the other reason is because by default, if you go with the first option, you're gonna have a root partition and a swap partition or swap file depending on what you'll choose, but you don't have any home partition. So if you want to have a home partition, then you'll need to select manual partitioning here. And so let's click next. And we have our empty disk here, VDA. This is the only disk I have in this virtual machine. So this is a UEFI machine, so I need to create also an EFI partition because it's mandatory. And the root partition, of course, is mandatory. And I can create also a home partition, which I want to do here. I'm going to create also a swap partition. Remember that if you choose erase the disk, you can also create a swap file directly there. If you want to create a swap file, you can do it here. We can do it also after the installation if you want to do that. But I'm going to create a swap partition here nevertheless. Anyway, let's go ahead here and click new partition table. And because it's a UEFI machine, I'm going to choose here GUID partition table because it's using GPT labels, and click OK. So there you go. We have now the new partition table here, and I can create the first partition. So let's click on create. And for the size here, I'm going to go with 300 megabytes. And for the file system, I'm going to select here FAT32 because it's going to be a EFI system partition, so it needs to be formatted like that. And the mount point here, it's going to be /boot/EFI. And I'm going to define here the boot flag and then click OK. Now I'm going to select again the free space and create now my swap partition. So I'm going to click here create. And for the swap, I'm going to go here with a very small swap. So 1000 megabytes would be okay. And file system type, I will choose Linux swap here. And the mount point is actually none, so that's fine. And I'm going to go here for the flags with swap. There you go, and click OK. Now I'm going to create the root partition. So I'm going to click again the free space here and click create. And for the root partition, I'm going to select here, let's say 30,000 megabytes. That should be enough for root. And the file system here, I'm going to select very easily ext4. Now, you can select any other file system you want here, like XFS or BudFS, but if you're planning to have more subvolumes for BudFS, you might start with the partitioner at the beginning of the installer here and create your subvolume manually, like we do on Arch. And then start the installer afterwards and just assign the subvolumes and the partitions here in Calamares if you want to have a more complex installation with BudFS. Anyway, here I'm going to go with ext4. And the mount point is going to be here root, and the flag is going to be also root in my case, and then click OK. Now the last one is going to be free space, create, and we're going to let here the rest of the disk. The file system is ext4, and the mount point here is going to be /home for my home partition. And I think I will leave this as it is and then click OK. So we have now our partitions here, and we can click next. And as you can see here, we have now the packages to install. So we chose to install BSPWM. And of course, the base level and common packages is already selected. We can actually expand this and see what's in there. So it's installing Yay by default. It's installing also the Linux headers, the Linux firmware, Pacman contrib, which is nice to have also in a window manager if you want to check also updates eventually on the bar. We have some drivers here. We have the Xorg server. We have also here, I see the B43FW cutter for Wi-Fi drivers. We have also the Broadcom drivers here. We have some other firmware. We have Network Manager as a network manager. And we have also, of course, the wireless tool. We have here GTOP. We have some fonts already installed here. We have also utils, all for the sound system. And let's scroll down here to see other packages. We have TLP, which is good for a laptop probably. I can actually deselect this, I don't need in a virtual machine. And let's see, Reflector is already there. We have the welcome app, which I will leave in there. And then we have the BSPWM packages, which I want to check also. So let me expand this. So we have BSPWM SXHKD, of course, we need those. We have Polybar, which is going to be installed. We have i3 Lock, which is going to be the lock screen for our BSPWM installation. We have ARender, we have some standard tools here, dmenu. We have Tuner as a file system. We have here ACPI, we have Celluloid, we have Rofi. We are using Rofi here as a launcher. We have Fe, we have PyCom, our compositor, and we have some themes. So an installation is actually pretty light. And you can choose here to install also printing support if you want to do this on your computer and you have a printer. And if you have an HP printer especially, you can select also the HP printer scanner support here, which will allow you to install HP Lip. So in my case, I would do this normally, but because this is a virtual machine, I will leave this off. And so that's fine for me. So these packages are good. So we can just click next. And now I can create my username. So I'm going to go here very easily with BSPWM and create a password for my user and use the same password for administrator account. Yes, so I'm just going to click next. So we have a summary here, so that looks good to me, and we can click install and install now. Now this is going to take some time to install, and it's something very important here. Also, it will be showing up here on the slide. Be patient. The installer, sometimes it seems like it's hanging. For example, here on the 8%, it will hang here for a couple of minutes, and it will come also up on the slide here. Be patient. The system is installing some processes. You will not see them progressing on the progress bar, and you will not see them happening behind where you see the terminal. So just be patient there, and it's going to take some time to install, as you can see here in this slide. So I'm going to pause the video here, guys, and I'll be back with you once the system finished installing. So here we go. The installation is now finished, so we can click restart now and then click done. And there we go. We have here the grab bootloader. So let's start our installation, and we should be greeted by the display manager, which in this case is LightDM. Now the resolution here is not correct, but that's because it's a virtual machine and I should adjust this manually, which I don't want to do now. So I'm just gonna log in with my password here, and we are now in BSPWM. Now the welcome app should come up in a second. There you go. So let me first change my display resolution again and set and quit. And as you can see here, something is not correct because I changed now the display resolution. No problem here. I can select on the keyboard Alt, Mod and R to reload the BSPWM window manager, and now we are back in business and we have our welcome app again. So first thing, I'm gonna update the system just to make sure that I'm up to date here. As you can see, it's doing this in the window. There is nothing to do, so we can just hit enter here. And this is the package cleanup configuration. So we can run this if you want to have this scheduled. Right now it's weekly, and the number of packages versions to keep are 3. So that's fine for me. I'm just going to click OK. And I need, of course, to authenticate here. There you go. And this is the packdiff that we saw before. So if you want to change this, you can do it directly from here by clicking the button here. Right now there is nothing to do, and the window will close automatically, or you can click close. We can also configure here the notifier. The notifier, as the word says, it's the notification system that is built in here in BSPWM in the EndeavourOS version. We can change also the display manager. Right now, as I said, we have LightDM, but you can switch to LXDM, STDM or GDM if you wish. I'm gonna stay with LightDM anyway. And we have the display resolution here, and we can choose also other wallpapers for our installation. Now we have also the same buttons here we saw before during the installer. Now under general info here, we have links to the website, to the wiki, to the news forum. You can also donate here, and about the welcome app. We have also some links here to the tips. So for example, if we click here on package management, it's going to open up here Firefox, and you can scroll through here one of these articles. And let's say, for example, we're going to go here to these Pacman and AUR tutorials. And as you can see here, we have some of these are my videos. And if you scroll through the other wikis here, you will see also some other channels videos as well. So let's close this by clicking see you later. And let's have a closer look here to our installation. So let me close Firefox. So on the top here, you can see we have our desktops. So by default, we have here 10 desktops here. And we have also here this small I. Now this small I here is just a key hint for the window manager. So these are the main key bindings available in the system. As you can see, the default terminal is Termite, which starts with super return or super enter. We have super D for the launcher, which is Rofi, as we said before, the window switcher with super control, and so on. And you can scroll down here also to see the BSPWM keyboard shortcuts. So we close this with Mod Q, and here we have our power menu. This is again based on Rofi. Here we can turn off our machine or restart if we want to. And we have here our volume, which is working already out of the box, as you can see. We have here the disk space, the load of the CPU, and we have also here the date and the time and our system tray. Now let's open up the terminal, and let me actually increase the font size here, and let's have a look at the configuration files. So let's type in nano.config and then BSPWM and BSPWM RC. And as you can see, we have here our 10 desktops. We have here the gaps. We can change, of course, all of these to suit our needs. You can see here we have also some rules already in place. These are the default rules that come with BSPWM. So you can change them up, or you can add some of these if you need to. We have also here the configuration for the border colors, which is actually EndeavourOS. We have also here some scripts launching for Polybar. You can see that we'll have a look at this later. We have nitrogen starting up for our wallpaper. We have here also the configuration for auto start, and also our PyCom compositor is also there. And we have also here the command for exit root for our cursor. Now let's have a look also at the key bindings. So nano.config, then SX and then SXRC, and hit enter. Now you can see again, we saw this before. So super return opens Termite, super D opens Rofi with these options. So if you need to change this, you can of course go into the configuration files here and change them up the way you prefer. We have also here super shift E to call up our power menu. We have also some other default key bindings here also for the Windows state. These ones didn't change. Also for the focus here. And I think we have at the bottom, as far as I remember when I was testing this out, we have of course here the multimedia keys, which are already working. We have also the brightness keys, which should be working. I haven't tested this out yet on a laptop, but they should be working. We have also super print. This is going to call up the screenshot script, which is under scripts in the BSPWM directory. And we have also some other shortcuts for Firefox, for Thunar, the file manager, and also the key bindings, which is going to basically open up the scripts here under the scripts directory in the BSPWM directory. So if you're curious about these, you can go ahead and see and change them up if you need to. What I want to have a look also, it's at the Polybar. So let's type in cd.config and then Polybar and hit enter and see what's in here. So we have the config ini file, where we have all the main configuration for Polybar. We have the launch script for Polybar, and we have the scripts. I believe in here we have just 2 or 3 scripts for Polybar. What I'm interested in here is the config.ini. So let's type in nano and then config.ini. And you can see here we have our colors. We have here also the monitor. Now this is commented out, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I have only one display. But if you're using multiple monitors, you need to uncomment this and put in here the name of the monitor that you will find with the xrender command. Then let's see, we have here the width and the height. This is okay for me. We have also here the fonts used, and we have of course also the modules. So you can see here we have power menu, BSPWM, SPS, and key hint. So the power menu is the first one. If you don't want to have it here on the left, you can put it also on the right by just putting power menu here at the end of the list and restart the window manager if you prefer that. And we have also here the modules on the right. Now the backlight is not appearing because I don't have it here in a virtual machine. Now SPS is the separator. Then we have the battery, which I don't have neither. The first one I have is pulse audio, which is right here. And then we have the memory. I thought this was the space. I was confused by the gigabytes. We have CPU, we have caps, we have num for the keyboard, and we have scroll and the date. So there are a few things here that you could add. If you want to, you could add also a storage option or a storage module if you want to. You can create one yourself. I have also Polybar tutorials on the channel that you can see, and you can see how it's done if you want to do that. Then we have of course some options here about BSPWM. I can see window manager restack, the DPI for X and Y, and so on. So you can go in here and change them up if you wish to do so. Now I've been using this ISO now since 2 days. I feel EndeavourOS has been growing up, has been maturing quite a lot. And for now, I tested BSPWM and KDE. I want to test also the GNOME version and other desktop environments as well, because it keeps it simple and quite light. As you can see, also the memory management, it's fairly good here. We have 223 megabytes in use, which is absolutely not bad. But so far I like what I see. I feel actually that EndeavourOS has been polishing a lot of things here and kept the installation fairly simple and fairly light. Now, if you try this out, let me know in the comments below how you like it and how you like EndeavourOS in general and what's your favorite version. And if you have any question about the video, let me also know in the comments below. I will be happy to answer you as soon as I can. And if you have any suggestions for EndeavourOS, head up to the forums and post your suggestions there. The devs are very forthcoming and very open to new ideas as well. So I hope you liked the video, guys. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and subs to the channel if you haven't already. Subs always help me out. And if you want to support my work, you can do so by visiting my Patreon website. As you probably already know, I'm doing a live webinar on Patreon now every month, once a month. And if you want, you can also support my work by donating via PayPal through my website as well. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I'll see you very soon in the next one.